So I saw a picture of you and you were on your knees asking for pee time.
What do you mean?
It's like a picture of you and you're on your knees looking up at the camera and your tongue is out and it says pee time. I'm just wondering whether it's real or fake. Jamie, could you pull that up? Wow.
There you go. I mean, that's a little weird of a photo, but
I did not think that is good. I did not think that is good.
I don't like that at all.
So just when you thought the AI race was getting kind of predictable, right? Well, Meta just dropped an absolute bombshell. We're talking a totally new AI from a brand new lab, and it's all designed to rocket them right back into the game. So let's break down what this really means for everyone else. And, it's a fair question to ask. I mean, for the past year, it felt like all the headlines were about OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and Meta. They felt a little quiet. Sure, their Llama models were competent, but you wouldn't say they were leading the charge, right? So what on earth just changed? Okay, so let's do a little time traveling to see how we got here. Think back to 2023. OpenAI and Anthropic were the names on everyone's lips. Now, let's jump forward to a hypothetical April 2025. Meta puts out its Llama 4 models. They're good, solid, but not exactly world-changing. But then, the big move. June 2025, Meta creates this new superintelligence lab and makes a huge hire. And that single move is what brings us to today, and the big reveal of Muse Spark. All right, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with the wake-up call that lit a fire under Meta. Then we'll get properly introduced to Muse Spark and see where it shines, and where it doesn't. After that, we'll zoom out to look at Meta's grand strategy, and we'll wrap up with the final verdict. Is this a real comeback? All right, first up, Meta's AI wake-up call. Before we dive into all the cool new tech, we've got to understand the why. What was the big wake-up call that made Meta make such a massive, dramatic move? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Just a year ago, this social media giant was pretty much seen as an AI laggard. I mean, they have some of the best AI minds on the planet and more data than almost anyone. But in this new world of generative AI, they were just on the back foot. Yeah, their Llama models were popular, especially with the open source crowd, but they weren't really competing at that top tier. And wow, this table just says it all. So the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, think of it as a general score for how smart an AI is. Meta's last big model, Llama 4 Maverick, scored an 18. And Muse Spark, it scores a 52. Let me be clear, that is not a small step up. That's a monumental leap. They basically closed the gap to the top models in one single release. Incredible. So, the big question is, how did they pull that off? Well, with a ton of cash and some serious brainpower. Meta reportedly shelled out a whopping $14.3 billion to acquire Scale AI. And then they did something even smarter. They put its founder, Alexandr Wang, in charge of this branding lab. His team then basically rebuilt Meta's entire AI system from scratch in just, get this, 9 months. And the very first thing to come out of that massive 9-month sprint is Muse Spark. So let's meet this thing. What actually makes it so different from everything else out there? Okay, so the first big thing you need to know is that it's natively multimodal. Now that sounds like a buzzword, but it's really important. It means this isn't some language model where they kind of stuck on some vision features later. No, this thing was built from the ground up, from its very core, to understand text and images together at the same time. And that one design choice, it has huge implications for how well it performs. It also thinks in a totally different way. See, a traditional AI model kind of works through a problem step by step, like one person thinking it through. But Muse Spark has this special contemplating mode. And what it does is it spins up a bunch of different AI agents that all work on the problem at the same time, in parallel. It's like a little AI brainstorming session. Then they combine all their best ideas to give you a better and often faster answer. So for you, as a user, this gives you 3 different ways to talk to it. You've got instant mode for your quick, simple questions. Then there's thinking mode, which gives you a more detailed step-by-step answer. And for the really hard stuff, the really tough problems, you can switch on contemplating mode and unleash that whole multi-agent brainstorming power we just talked about. Okay, so that's all the theory. Sounds pretty cool, right? But how does it actually perform in the real world? Let's kick things off with the good stuff, where Muse Spark really shines. And right here, this is Muse Spark's biggest win, hands down.
On a really tough test for complex health questions, it actually scores ahead of GPT 5.4. And this was no accident. Meta worked with over 1,000 doctors to get the training data just right, specifically to make this model incredibly helpful for health and wellness questions.
Now, here's an advantage that might seem a little nerdy, but trust me, it's huge. Efficiency. To finish that big intelligence test, Muse Spark only used 58 million tokens. Compare that to GPT 5.4, which needed 120 million. Now, why does that matter? Well, for you, it means faster answers, but for Meta, it means way, way lower computing costs. And that is absolutely critical if you're planning on rolling this out to billions of people.
Okay, but it's not a perfect story. It's not a clean sweep. To be fair, we have to look at the other side of the coin. The areas where Muse Spark is, well, still playing catch-up. Let's talk about coding. It's definitely in the game here, it's competitive, but it's not the leader. On a benchmark that tests how well it can solve real-world coding problems, it's still trailing behind models from Anthropic and Google. So, if you're a developer looking for the absolute best coding assistant, this probably isn't it, at least not right now. And here's the really big weak spot. This benchmark, ARC-AGI-2, is all about abstract reasoning and solving brand new problems. Muse Spark scores a 42.5. Its main rivals? They're scoring in the mid-70s. That is a huge gap. It really suggests that the model struggles when it has to think outside the box or learn from just a few examples.
And this performance gap is reflected in some of the media coverage. This quote from Gizmodo kind of sums up the skeptical take perfectly. Zuckerberg's multi-billion-dollar spending spree has moved Meta from out of the race entirely to competing for also-ran status. Ouch. So the view is, yeah, it's a massive improvement, but it's only brought them into the race, not to the front of it. But maybe, just maybe, focusing only on these benchmark scores is missing the bigger picture. Because Meta isn't just playing the benchmark game. They're playing a different game entirely. And that game is all about one thing. Scale. 3.5 billion. Let that number sink in. That is Meta's ultimate trump card. That's how many people use their family of apps. No other AI company on the planet has a distribution channel that is even in the same universe. And that's the grand plan. See, Muse Spark isn't going to be some separate app you have to download. Nope. They are baking it directly into the products billions of us already use every single day. We're talking WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, even their AI glasses. And this creates this gigantic feedback loop that could, in theory, let Meta improve their AI way faster than anybody else. Okay, so let's bring it all together. What is the final verdict here? Is this a real, honest-to-goodness comeback? Or is it just a very, very expensive game of catch-up? When you lay it all out, it's really not a simple answer. It's two sides of the same coin. The argument for a comeback, it's strong. They've massively closed the performance gap, they're leading in important areas like health, and they have that insane distribution channel. But the argument for just catch-up is also totally valid. It's still behind on coding and abstract thinking, and, big one here, unlike the llama models we loved, this one is closed source. It's proprietary. And all of this really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Is a good enough AI that reaches billions of people more impactful than the absolute best AI that only reaches millions? Meta might not have the top model on every single benchmark, but they are about to put a very good AI into the hands of a huge chunk of the planet's population for free. And that might just change the definition of what it means to win the AI race.